Hey, it's Tanya here at Nerdy Knitting. Today we're talking about the Make One increase. There are actually 6 ways to work this increase, and I'm going to show you all of them in today's video. But stick around to the end because I have a special tip that will make it really easy to remember how to work this stitch. And if you want to jump to any point in the video, check out the timestamps in the video description box down below. The Make One increase is worked between 2 stitches, so you can't work it at the beginning or end of a row. When you have your stitches on your needle, take a look right here. There's 2 loops on our needle. This thread, this running thread in between, is where you make that new stitch. And there are 6 ways to make it. You can do a make one open right down here and here. I worked them on the front of the work. Then I also worked them on the purl side. So the make one open can be worked 2 different ways. And then we have the make one right and the make one left. If you look right here and right here, you can see those little stitches that seem to twist. Those were worked on the front side of the work, the make one right and the make one left. Then if you keep going up, you can see them here too. These were worked on the purl side row. So there we have 6 ways that we can make that. The open versions represent little yarn overs. They're a little smaller, and the right and left ones slant to the right and the left when you look for those little twisted stitches that you see here. That one's twisting off to the left. These are twisting off to the right. So let's start by making the make one open versions. To do a make one open, let's look at what's happening here. There's the next stitch, and there is that running thread right here between the 2. There's the stitch I just worked. That running thread is connected to the stitch underneath right here. So you have 2 ways to work this. You can put it right up on your needle. Now it looks like a yarn over, and putting it up there stretches it out a little more, so it does make it a little bigger. And all you do is knit right into the center of that, like you would for a yarn over. And it gives us that hole. Let's do that again. But this time, I'm not going to put it up on my needle. There's that stitch. So I look for that thread that's attached to the stitch underneath, the one I've just worked right here. I'm not going to put it on my needle this time. I'm just going to put my needle through, wrap my yarn, and there, I made a make one open. You can do that one more time. There's that running thread. You can put it up on the needle and knit into it like that. Or you can just locate it, insert, pull it through, and make one open. So there's our first way of working that. I'm going to work back a few rows, and then we're going to see how that looks on a purl side row. Okay, I've worked a few rows. Now I'm going to work that make one open on a purl row. Why would we want to do this? Well, sometimes a pattern might call for increases to be worked on the wrong side of the work, or if you're working a fabric in reverse stockinette, or something that has some purl texture in it and you want to create another purl stitch, these increases on the purl row are a good option. So this is where I want my increase to be. You can see the one work down there. We're going to do the same exact thing. Look for that stitch and then follow it down to its running bar right there. Pop it up on your needle. You can see it's connected to this stitch right here underneath the purl I've just worked. So we do the same thing. We're not knitting it this time because we're on a purl row. So we bring that yarn to the front and we purl that stitch. And there's a make one open on a purl row. Let's do that again. Okay, there's that stitch and we're looking for this running bar right here. So I could place it up there, bring my yarn to the front and purl it. Or if I don't want to take the step of putting it on this needle, I just have to look for it there, wrap my yarn and pull it through. And I've created another stitch right there. When you come back to these stitches on the next row, all you do is simply knit or purl, just like you would any other stitch. So let's finish this row and see what these open stitches look like. Okay, I've worked a few rows, so now we can take a look at these make ones. There's the make ones we worked on the right side of the fabric. You can see, if you look at the stitch columns, we have a new one starting right there. And one right there. And up above it, they're a little bit harder to see, but we have those same increases but worked on the purl side. All you do is put that running bar up on your needle and knit right into the center, just like it was a yarn over, or purl right into the center if you're working on a purl row or in reverse stockinette. So let's do the make one left and the make one right on our stockinette side. It's the same technique. We're going to pick up that running bar, but instead of knitting into it and keeping it open, we're going to twist that stitch so it doesn't have such a big hole, because sometimes you don't want a big hole like that. You want a more unobtrusive increase. So there's our running stitch right here. So I'm going to take my left needle and bring it from the back to the front under that bar. And now we can see here, if I just knit into the center of that, it's going to make it open like the other one. We don't want that, so I can't knit there. I have to knit into the front. This can be a bit fiddly. What I like to do is give that a little tug and pull some of that excess yarn to the front, and then I use my index finger to hold it there so I have some place to insert. Otherwise this can be fairly tight. And we're going to work it like a knit stitch. There, and you can see it twists that to the right, and it creates a fabric that moves off to the right. Okay, let's do that, but now let's do one that goes left. This time I'm going to insert from the front to the back. And if we look at this, if I knit right there, it's going to make another open stitch, and I don't want that, so I can't knit through this leg. I have to go back and knit through the back leg. So insert, sometimes it can be hard to get in there, so I might go in the front and then slide it up and around my needle. And then I wrap the yarn and pull it through. You can see that twist right there. Let me work a row and we'll come back and do that again. Okay, I'm back on the front of my work. Let's repeat that. Make one right. Look for that running bar. It's right here. You're going to insert it from the back to the front. And you can see you don't want to knit that because that's going to make an open stitch. So we have to come around, tug that yarn, insert it like you're going to knit, and knit it off. And that is a make one right. Now for a make one left, we insert from front to back. And if you just look, you can see we don't want to knit there. We want to knit into that back leg. So fiddle your needle around, knit it through. Okay, let's finish this row and take a look. Okay, I've worked a few rows. So now we can see where we worked those two increases. There's the right leaning increases. You can see they start a new column of stitches. Follow that row down and you can see, oh, this one started with a make one open. You just follow them down and you can see where they start. So these are twisting off to the right, and you can tell the fabric is moving off in that direction. If you want an increase that adds fabric that moves to the right, use a right leaning increase. Same for the left. If we look here, follow those stitches down, we can see that twist right there. If we follow this down, there's our make one open right there. And the fabric moves off to the left. So let's work those increases, but on a purl row. You can probably already guess that we're going to purl that running bar instead of knit it. Let me show you how that looks. There, I've worked the location I want that stitch. Now I'm on a purl row, but I'm on the side that has my left leaning stitches. So I want to work a left leaning increase here. So I'll work a make one left purl. There's my purl stitch there. And here's that running bar. I'm going to insert from front to back. Now you can see if I purl right there, that's going to make an open stitch, and I don't want that. So I have to purl through this back leg. We bring our needle behind and insert it just like that, and we purl it. And that will give us a left leaning increase on that stockinette fabric. Okay, now what if we wanted a right leaning purl increase? We find that running bar, we insert our needle from back to front, and we can see if we purl into it right here, it's going to make an open stitch. That's quite open. So we insert into this leg of the stitch, purl that. And that's all there is to it. You find that running bar and you knit or purl into it to twist it closed. I'll finish the row and then we'll take a look at those increases worked on the purl side. And stick around because I have one more quick tip so you don't have to remember to insert from back to front for a right leaning or insert from front to back for a left leaning. If we look very closely, you can see that new stitch was formed right here, and it goes off to the right, that twist. And there's that new stitch right there, and it twists off to the left. So you can make one on a purl row. Now if a pattern doesn't specify which make one to use, just use the one that you want to use. Of course, if you're working an increase on the front on stockinette fabric, you'll want to knit a knitted increase, but you can work them on the purl row. So I have one more tip to share for those times you can't remember if you're supposed to insert from the front or insert from the back. Let's look here. Find our running bar, and I want a right leaning increase, so I'm going to look at those legs, and when it leans off to the right, that means I can knit into it, and that will make a right leaning increase. If it were this way, that leg is leading to the left. That's all there is to it. You don't even have to remember pick it up from the front, pick it up from the back. Just remember that the leg should be leaning in the direction you want that increase to be worked. And I want this to be a right leaning increase, so that leg is leaning off to the right. And I know when I look at it, if I knit right into it, I'm going to have an open stitch, but I want it twisted closed. So pull up some fabric and I'm going to knit into that to twist it closed. You don't have to remember to pick up from the back or pick up from the front. Now let's work our left leaning. Okay, now I want this one to lean to the left, so if I insert it that way, it's not going to work. That leg is leaning right. So I'll turn it around. Now that leg is leaning in the direction that I want that stitch to go. And I just have to look at it. If I knit right into the middle, it's going to make an open stitch. So I have to knit through the back loop, and that will twist that stitch closed. Right there, you can see how it twists it closed. There's still a little hole, but it's certainly not as prominent. And that's all there is to making the make one open, the make one right and left on the front side, and the make one right and left on the purl side. If you'd like to get a bit nerdy with your knitting, click the subscribe button down below.